Hello, my name is Gaten from Creamifix. Today I'm going to show you how to work with version 2 of Parallaxer. For those who have never heard about this tool, Parallaxer is an After Effects script that allows you to convert your Illustrator or Photoshop files into 3D parallax scenes in just a few clicks. It gives you the ability to move your layers in depth without affecting their appearance from the camera. Setting up a 3D composition has never been easier. Version 2 of Parallaxer is much simpler to use. Additionally, version 2 introduces highly effective tools for manipulating groups of layers in 3D space. I'm really excited to show you all these improvements, so let's get started. Let's start with this first example. I'm in Adobe Illustrator and I've separated my illustration into layers. Take some time to properly arrange your layers in 3D space. Remember, the layers on the top will appear in front, and the ones at the bottom will be behind. Once you're satisfied with the result, switch over to After Effects. If you followed the steps to install Parallaxer script included in the documentation, you can launch it by going to Window, Parallaxer 2. Import your illustration as a composition and choose the Retain Layer Size import mode. Both options are possible, but for this case, I want to preserve my layer sizes. Select your composition and launch Parallaxer. You will be prompted to choose a type of scene preset. For this example, let's select the medium scene big room, which will give you a stronger 3D impression than the small room preset. Parallaxer asks me to set up my viewport in two view modes, top and camera. Let's set up the two view mode like this. Top view for the left viewport and camera view for the right viewport. Now Parallaxer is active, as indicated at the top of your composition here. And now I can move my layers in depth without affecting their appearance from the camera. I can then move my camera to test the result. Feel free to explore different angles to see how the layers move relative to each other. If you see any lag in your viewport, you can reduce the quality to half or even lower, just like this. And anyway, once everything will be baked, it will go smoother. To return to the original position of your camera, simply click on Reset Camera. Okay, let's place the woman at the same level as the desk here. And I will take the background and move it further away. There you go. Now, if you move the camera, you will see that the woman is at the same distance as the desk, while the background moves less because it's farther away. Once I'm satisfied with my setup, I click on Bake. And I'm now ready to animate my camera and layers. If your layers become blurry as the camera gets closer, you can click on Rasterize Layer just here to keep them sharp and vector-based. And here's my result after animating. For the second example, I spent a lot of time separating all the layers to show you guys that with Parallaxer 2, you will be able to convert this scene in 3D in a single click. I imported my illustration as a composition with the Retain Layer Size option, just like the last example. In this case, I want the background with the sun to remain static when I move my camera. Just like in reality, when something is far away, it won't appear to move as you advance towards it. To keep a layer static and in 2 dimensions, simply lock it before launching Parallaxer. Let's click on the Parallaxer button. I'm choosing Large Scene Exterior Preset. I'm putting my viewport in 2 view modes, top and camera. And now you can see that converting an Illustrator file in 3D in After Effects is that simple. This scene is a perfect example to explain the purpose of these 3 new buttons in the Parallaxer 2 interface. While moving my camera, I noticed that all the foreground vegetation was spreading out too much in depth. I want to group them closer to the foreground to my camera. I'm selecting the vegetation, setting their color to green for a better visibility, and I click on the minus button several times to regroup them. I can also align them all to the same plane by clicking on Flat, or spread them out with the plus button. It's very convenient for organizing your 3D scene and avoiding a linear look. I click on Bake, and here's my result after animating. For this next example, I'm going to animate the birds in After Effects by using Precomposing. I lock the background to keep it static, just like the last example. I'll add some colors. Blue for the mountains, red for the birds, and green for my grass, flowers, and trees. Let's launch Parallaxer with the large scene exterior preset. If I move my camera, I can see the trees disappearing immediately because they are too close of the camera, and my grass seems too far. Let's correct this by grouping all my foreground layers with the minus button and bringing them closer to the camera. Okay, this is better. Let's reorganize everything for more realism. Perfect. Now we can bake our scene. And now I'm going to animate all these birds independently. To do that, the first thing to do is to select the layer and pre-compose it by right-clicking and selecting Precompose. Let's double-click on the new composition. The problem here is that I only have one layer, so I can't animate the birds individually. You have several options here. You can create a new file in Illustrator and separate all the birds, one for each layer, or you can use plugins like Explode Shape Layers or Overlord that can directly import objects from Illustrator to After Effects. In this case, I'm going to select my Illustrator layer and explode it. Now I have all my birds on separate layers, and I can animate them. If I return to the main composition, animate my camera and do a preview, I can now see my birds moving. And here is my final result. Beautiful, no? You can use the same technique to animate a character or do some graphic motion design, for example. Everything we've learned together to convert an Illustrator file in 3D and animate it in After Effects can be applied to a Photoshop file with layers. The result will be kind of flat for a picture, but it can work in some cases. For a better 3D result on pictures, of course I'm going to recommend you to take a look to VoluMax 3D Photo Animator. You can find a link in the description. Finally, I want to talk about something that can occur in After Effects that I call the ghost layers bug. In rare cases, you might encounter an issue where a layer becomes immovable or invisible in the top view. Don't worry, it's a simple problem to fix. The cause of these ghost layers is that the After Effects 3D space is not infinite, and the bug can appear when a layer pivot is too far away from the origin. This can appear rarely when your composition is in layer size mode, and if your file's vertical resolution is higher than 2500 pixels. The easiest fix is to import your file with layers in document size, or to choose a lower preset like small or medium when you launch Parallaxer. However, the best solution is to reduce the resolution of your file. Once you've set up your scene with Parallaxer and baked it, you can resize and upscale your composition. Then use the camera zoom to fit everything properly, and don't forget to activate Masterize on layers to keep them sharp. I want to assure you that this issue is rare and mainly affects files with very high resolutions. Thank you for watching this tutorial. You will find a link to the official Parallaxer page in the description of this video. And don't forget to like and subscribe to be informed about all the future releases. Bye!